Happy Saturday and good morning. We are live, waiting for you to populate the chat on this Saturday morning on a game day for the Montreal Canadiens. The morning after the night that rocked the National Hockey League. Massive transaction involving three different teams, a future Hall of Famer, a Stanley Cup champ, a once upon a time 55 goal scorer, has made the Carolina Hurricanes now the Stanley Cup favorites. Let's dig into the blockbuster deal that rocked the National Hockey League on Friday night. We'll set the table for the Montreal Canadiens and New Jersey Devils matchup at the Bell Center at 7 o'clock, and you can listen to it live on TSN 690 as the Montreal Canadiens perhaps get a little bit of a break. Jake Allen in goal for the New Jersey Devils tonight, of course, in the aftermath of Jacob Markstrom getting run over earlier this week. Now he's out for a prolonged period of time. Four Nations also in jeopardy there. But Jake Allen makes his return to the Bell Center, starting in goal for New Jersey. Our question right off the hop to get us going on this Saturday morning is, who should start in goal for Montreal tonight? Sam Montembeault obviously played Tuesday and Thursday. It's a traditional three-game week for Montreal that concludes with a matchup against New Jersey tonight. Does Martin St. Louis go back to Sam Montembeault, a chance to redeem himself from a subpar effort on Thursday in Detroit? Or do they go to Jakub Dobeš to give Dobeš a second consecutive Bell Center start after he started and won to improve to 5-0 against the New York Rangers last Sunday? But the main issue here when we talk about goaltending as it relates to the Montreal Canadiens, how often does Dobeš get in? Do you want a steady rotation? I think what you don't want is Jakub Dobeš to start on Sunday last week and not play perhaps until when? The Montreal Canadiens have the start of a significant homestand against New Jersey. They've got Winnipeg. They've got Minnesota coming in. So when does Dobeš play next? So we'll get your reaction to the Montreal Canadiens and their goaltending situation as it relates to Sam Montembeault and Jakub Dobeš. We'll set the table for the struggling New Jersey Devils, the opposition at the Bell Center tonight. And we'll dig in, of course, on what happened between Colorado, Carolina, and the Chicago Blackhawks. Why did the Blackhawks make this move? Why were they a part of this? Why did they retain salary? Could they have not gotten a third-round pick for Taylor Hall? We'll dig into all of that and more. And, of course, let's take an opportunity now to update the landscape in the Eastern Conference as it relates to the Atlantic Division, as it relates to the Metro Division, and of course, most importantly, I suppose, for Montreal Canadian fans on this Saturday morning, where are the Canadiens in the wild card race? Because it is another mammoth out-of-town scoreboard, watching from a distance kind of day in the National Hockey League today. So there you have it. Toronto, Florida, and Tampa Bay, your top three teams in the Atlantic Division today. And then we scroll down to the wild card, and there's Boston and Columbus. The BJs have been kind of hanging around forever now. Boston fluctuating between third and one of the two wild card spots. But that was a big loss for the Montreal Canadiens to Detroit on Thursday, right? As the reality was this. Montreal went into that game with Detroit. Now, the Red Wings had lost three in a row, four of their last five, and in three straight games, Detroit had scored one goal total in three consecutive games. Then they match up against the Canadiens, and for me, that game on Thursday against Detroit was basically the Canadiens getting a taste of their own medicine, what it's like to watch another team be on you first, be the aggressor, be faster than you, get timely saves more than you did, get timely goal scoring more than you did. And the Montreal Canadiens were witnesses to what it's like to play the Montreal Canadiens, who have been, for the better part of 6 weeks, the hottest, best team in the National Hockey League. But it doesn't change the fact that here we are talking about a 3-point gap now between Detroit and Montreal. So that was the reality. Montreal wins Thursday in Detroit. They now have a 7-point cushion. Instead, it's a 3-point cushion. You know, the Pittsburgh Penguins have 3 wins in their last 10 games. They're 4 points back of the Montreal Canadiens. And of course, if you remember this week, if you were watching any of my content on the channel this week, you saw that I had a nice opportunity to sit with Marco D'Amico and have a good chat about what's going on with the Montreal Canadiens as we spoke about the salary cap going up. Marco D'Amico's reporting suggesting pretty quickly here that the salary cap in the National Hockey League could scale the heights of $100 million. So what does that mean for someone like Lane Hudson? Obviously, Ivan Demidov, when he makes his debut in the National Hockey League, fingers and toes crossed that it happens in the fall of 2025. What happens to the salary cap? And then, of course, the big one on the channel this week, and Thank you so much for being so encouraging here. We got over 12,000 views on the Pittsburgh Penguins and the report that the Penguins were imminent when it comes to having a fire sale in the National Hockey League. But what was interesting about that, and you can go to my channel or go to your favorite podcast platform if you want to listen to it, but the video is there on the Shaun Starr Show on YouTube.com, with the reporting from Marco D'Amico about the Pittsburgh Penguins' imminent fire sale. Okay, it was great and everything else, but like, what were we really talking about? Were we talking about Evgeny Malkin? Were we talking about Sidney Crosby? No, the reporting suggests that the Pittsburgh Penguins' future Hall of Famers aren't going anywhere. Certainly not being shopped. That's the reporting. So it seemed like the crumbs, the kind of spare parts in Pittsburgh, if Kyle Dubas was interested in making a move. So more content if you missed any of that. And then, of course, with some of the speculation out there in the aftermath of Nick Ehlers, who, by the way, is hurt, the stud forward for the Winnipeg Jets, allegedly telling Patrick Laine to bring him a Habs jersey, and that they're obviously close and connected. And Nick Ehlers, a pending unrestricted free agent, if he hits the market on July the 1st, perhaps has an appetite to be a Montreal Canadien. And that was one of the bright spots, in my opinion, to surround the Montreal Canadiens this week, because I got the sense after the loss in Detroit on Thursday that some people chose to deploy the panic button, and I'm going to try to walk you off that ledge in a second. But what I think is happening, and it's more than just reports of players looking at Montreal differently than they have in the last 4 or 5 years, I think what's happening with Ken Hughes and Jeff Gorton, I think the Montreal Canadiens, and I've said this for since these guys were brought in, that I believe the Montreal Canadiens have reprioritized what they want to do moving forward. I think there was a time in the history of the Montreal Canadiens, in the recent history, that they tried to do everything simultaneously. They tried to be good citizens, they tried to play politics, they tried to win hockey games, they tried to, I don't know if cheat is the right word, you know what I mean? But they didn't want to rebuild, tear it down to the studs. They were trying to do it like a no demo reno kind of situation, kind of filling holes here and there without tearing anything down and having, major renovations, doing spare parts, doing little bush fixes all the time in Montreal. And I think by looking at the pressure that comes with who coaches the Canadiens, what language does the coach have to speak, what language do top tier managers within the Canadiens organization have to speak. And I've chosen to look at this, and I've been pretty consistent since Jeff Gorton was hired, and then Jeff Gorton hired Ken Hughes, that the Montreal Canadiens looked at a guy from Boston and looked at an American and said, you're the man. Can you go rebuild my hockey team, please? And to me, I love that move, because I think they separated the BS from how the team has been run and put it into the hands of very serious people who don't care about really anything other than making right decisions and winning hockey games and getting the Canadiens back to where I think, if you're watching me right now, we're all of the same mindset. Nobody's looking for a quick fix. Nobody's looking for that bush fix. Everybody's looking for a consistent level of competitiveness, right? Whether you look at the Tampa Bay Lightning as a model organization, a team that has won titles, that has been dominant during the regular season, carried it into the playoffs more often than not. I think that's the goal, right? That's who you aspire to be. And I think the Montreal Canadiens have made the right hires to get them to that promised land. And look, I'm not going to trade in all the exciting hockey we've watched over the last 10 years, right? With Carey Price and Yaroslav Halak and the COVID Stanley Cup run and all that. That was great. No one's trading any of that in, but you know it. I know it. It was very situational. It was very fortunate. A lot of luck. And the Canadiens were able to package that all together to go on some pretty deep runs. Like, ask any Toronto Maple Leaf fan in your life. Would you trade all that in to have any of the runs the Montreal Canadiens have had, right? The Chris Kreider year, the Halak year, take your pick. The COVID run, take your pick, right? The Toronto Maple Leafs have had, first ballot Hall of Famers, in Marner and Matthews and Nylander and studs like Morgan Riley on defense. They can't seem to find goaltending. Certainly they haven't in the past. But you ask a Toronto Maple Leaf fan fan, would you take what the Montreal Canadiens have had? And that includes all the bad, but it comes with the incredible rides. You might be surprised at what you say. So, good morning, everybody. Good morning. The chat is full, 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 full. Thank you so much for being here on this Saturday morning. Recliner Sports, happy Saturday. Good to see you, everybody. Brad Wright, good morning. Should Jakub Dobeš start tonight or Sam Montembeault? Brad's contention is Dobeš should get the start tonight. He was nervous the last time at the Bell Center with his dad in town. Thanks, Brad, for the comment. And that was the thing for me. Like, after we heard about Jakub Dobeš beating the New York Rangers in overtime on Sunday to get his personal record to 5-0. He'd spoken to reporters after that Sunday win, talked about how his mind was racing, didn't sleep the best, getting ready for his Bell Center debut. He had been itching. His teammates had said publicly that Dobeš had been itching for a Bell Center start. Again, I love this guy's attitude. And, since he was called up, I've been telling you, like, just his attitude, how he talks, his confidence off the ice before and after games reminds me so much of Patrick Waugh's attitude off the ice. And then, as Brad Wright points out in the comments this morning, Jakub Dobeš told reporters that he had not seen his father in a year and a half, and his dad obviously was largely responsible, such a heavy influence to get Dobeš into hockey, to the point where here he is playing in the National Hockey League and having a great, perfect 5-game sample size. And finally his dad got to be here, got to see him, got to hug his son, got to talk to each other and everything else. So I can understand why Dobeš said his mind and his heart was racing at 1,000,000 miles an hour. So maybe there's something there. Maybe now that Dobeš has gotten that out of the way, the Bell Center start, seeing his dad for the first time in a year and a half, that things have calmed down for this gamer, as Juraj Slafkovsky called him. Steph Howard, good morning, good morning, good morning. Steph Howard, a proud member of the Shaun Starr show. As always, thank you, Steph, for being one of the most loyal guys on this channel. And Steph has been with me cheering me on for the longest of times. And as loyal as he is, I'm a big fan of Steph Howard myself. And you too can join the show for less than $3 a month. It's a reoccurring payment. Cancel any time. I've caught my Lane Hudson loyalty badges. When Lane Hudson scored his first NHL goal, every member that joins the Shaun Starr show gets a Lane Hudson emoji. But seriously, you get early access to all my videos. I generally post them 24, 36 hours before I release them. We do some live chats and member-only posts that I get to do on the regular. Give my members a little inside look at what's going on behind the scenes at the Shaun Starr show. Some pictures of Hank, some pictures of my studio as this channel continues to grow on the daily. And thank you so much again for helping me out. Rick Springhetti with the Rick, I appreciate the tip. I appreciate that very much. But Rick, that's not necessary. Rick sliding $10 into the Shaun Starr Fund as the investment into this channel continues to grow, and you guys have been helping me out so much. I'm so happy, by the way, before I continue, I'm just so happy at the quality of the stream. The lighting is better, the sound is good, the consistency, the connectivity remains very strong. And yeah, I poured a few $1,000s in order to get me here. Bought a computer, I got the best 5 internet that's available right now. Bought some good lighting, got a good microphone, etc., etc., etc. So we have put an investment into this. But Rick, your generosity is off the charts. Thank you so much, Rick, for that. So let's get Rick's question. I mean, Rick slid $10 into the tip jar, so I could do this. Shaun, I'm curious to hear your views on the Islanders signing Tony DeAngelo. He was caught on TV telling his coach in Russia to F off on the bench. How will this work with Coach Roy? Rick, that's a money question. That is a money question. I was shocked that the New York Islanders put hands on Tony DeAngelo, who has been run out of various teams across the National Hockey League, and did himself no favors playing with Ivan Demidov over in Russia in the Continental Hockey League, and now gets signed by the New York Islanders. It's a shocking move to me. It's very much a shocking move to me because, when we look at where the New York Islanders are, okay, let me just take you over to the New York Islanders here for a second. Here they are with 47 points. They've won 3 in a row in 6 of their last 10, okay? So what does that mean for the New York Islanders? 5 points out from catching the Montreal Canadiens. And the Islanders, making this move is disappointing on numerous levels, because I'm all for giving, people in general, hockey players in general, opportunities. Playing in the National Hockey League, I've long believed this. Playing in the NHL is not a right, it's a privilege to play in the National Hockey League. And it was shocking to me, and I use the word shocking on purpose, because hockey is the ultimate team game. And there are too many consistent reports of the type of person that Tony DeAngelo is, that why would you want to bring someone like that into the room, into the organization? And my belief there is that Patrick Waugh, okay, who is my favorite hockey player of all time, that Patrick Waugh's ego, Patrick Waugh's hockey IQ, Patrick Waugh's confidence is so big, is so large, that he believes his presence, his ego, his name, his clout will be good enough to put Tony DeAngelo in line. That's my perspective, because how else do you do this? I mean, remember the Boston Bruins tried to bring in that jabroni there? I forget his name, but he came with a load of, like, I don't know, racist baggage, and the Bruins signed him to a contract. This NCAA player, someone in the chat will remind me of this donkey guy, right? And the Bruins right away is like, no, culture, etc., etc. And the Islanders, I have to believe that Patrick Waugh's ego and Patrick Waugh's swagger as a Hall of Famer, as a generational goaltender, believes that he can be the guy. He can be the guy. We all have we all know somebody like this. Maybe you're one of these people. Sometimes I have that tendency too. Sometimes I believe I can fix anything, I'll tell you a quick story. Okay? We have a text system at TSN 690, right? Where you can text the radio station any of your shows that you listen to on the regular, right? It's 11690. You can text the radio station. And the announcers on the air see the text messages, And not shocking, not surprising to anybody that there are a lot of keyboard warriors. They just don't exist on Facebook and X. They exist on radio station text lines. And there was this one person that would just text in the nastiest, most vile thing you can imagine. Like, it was ridiculous. And we didn't have a system at the time that you could, let's say you see this idiot texting you all this. I mean, when I say heinous, like brutal, it was really nasty, right? Like, let your imagination go wild and you're there, okay? And there wasn't a mechanism where you can click a button and block the person or whatever. You have to go through this chain to get this texter to have some sort of consequence for what they write into you, right? And after he kept writing all these things, I said, you know what, man? I'm going to call this guy. And I called him on my personal phone, right? I said, I want to know why. Like, let's talk through this. Let's see what's up, because you have an opinion on a politician, or you have an opinion on a hockey team or a player, right? And this person wanted nothing to do with a logical conversation, and I got myself in trouble because I tried to extend an olive branch, and I guess he didn't like the fact that I tried to understand his perspective, right? So it's a wild world. It's a wild world out there. All that to say, that's why I believe Patrick Waugh, to answer your question, that's why I believe Patrick Waugh brought Tony DeAngelo in. Hockey is such a tight team game, and this guy has such a nasty reputation spread across multiple leagues and multiple teams. And the Islanders are the ones that think they can bring this guy in? I don't think so, Tim. More of your comments coming in. Steph Howard, thank you, brother. You guys are the best. As many people, I want to get back up to the top here. Zeph, good morning, Zeph. Habs management promised to be in the mix. We are in the mix, and we will need better players to be a top 4 team in the league. And that's why, Zeph, I want to talk about very quickly here. If you watched my video yesterday that I put out about Nikolai Ehlers, okay? That was the guy I was talking about right here in this video. This video here, Habs target. Does this star player want to sign with the Montreal Canadiens? That star player I'm talking about is Winnipeg Jets forward Nikolai Ehlers. And Nikolai Ehlers and Patrick Laine are super tight. Ehlers asked for a Canadiens jersey. Laine didn't bring one to Winnipeg to troll him. And there's some allegations out there that Ehlers has expressed some sort of interest in the Montreal Canadiens. He's a pending UFA in July. And I love the move. I would love to see Nick Ehlers as a Montreal Canadien. And I believe his style, the jam, the intensity, the size is exactly what the culture that Montreal and the Canadiens are trying to develop here. And, you know, I got a lot of comments on it. Obviously, I mean, there was a lot of views for me on my channel, over 6,100 views, coming off the Penguins fire sale video I did that got 12,000 views the day before. That obviously Montreal Canadian fans have a very strong and a very aggressive appetite to consume news around the Montreal Canadiens, which I am happy to deliver on the daily. But they were wondering about, where does he fit in? So many prospects, so many guys on the come up, right? Well, let's talk about that. Joshua Roy is hurt. Now, Joshua Roy is not hurt forever, but Joshua Roy is, what, a 5th round pick, if memory serves me right? You know, so obviously, I mean, he's having a great season in Laval. By all accounts, has a good attitude, and then he gets hurt, what was it, last Friday? And you saw Owen Beck here for a couple of games, playing 6 minutes. Maybe Owen Beck not exactly ready for the big stage and the bright lights of the NHL. And you go down the list, right? Jared Davidson, is he coming up? Is he going to make the Montreal Canadiens? Where's Oliver Kapanen going to be? Michael Hage in Michigan, maybe 2-3 years away from being a Montreal Canadien, okay? But in the here and now, can you not envision a Montreal Canadiens top 6 that looks something like this? With Juraj Slafkovsky, Nick Suzuki, and Cole Caulfield still established as the number 1 line. Next season, having someone like Patrick Laine and Kirby Dach and Ivan Demidov, and where Ivan Demidov slots in, and Nick Ehlers rounding out what would be a formidable top 9 where you can move pieces up and down. And look, if you want to make there are moves to be made. The Montreal Canadiens have capital. The Montreal Canadiens have picks. The Montreal Canadiens have assets at the lower levels that they can move around. And I mean, let's be honest. Nick Ehlers over Alex Newhook 24/7 is a massive, massive upgrade. And more importantly, whether or not Ehlers signs as a Montreal Canadien, someone I would love to see join this organization, because that's the type of player I think Montreal really needs more of, certainly, is what I think is maybe the best news around this rebuild and what's happened in the last 3 years. And Martin St. Louis deserves a lot of credit. The guys who hired him deserve a lot of credit. But I think something's happening that I don't know has happened in my lifetime watching and paying attention to the Canadiens. The narrative around Montreal is starting to change, where once upon a time, 10, 15 years ago, you had players like Daniel Briere or Vincent Lecavalier and others perhaps look at the Canadiens as a leverage play. You know, did PLD use the Montreal Canadiens as a leverage play to get more money from the LA Kings? I don't know. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. But what I do know is that certainly has been a thing, arguably my entire life, where the Montreal Canadiens have never, ever been the team that others want to get traded to or wait until July 1st because they can't wait to sign on the dotted line to be a Canadian. That what Martin St. Louis, Ken Hughes, and Jeff Gorton had done, and then the players on the ice, the culture that they're trying to build here in Montreal that is sustainable for years, is attractive to other teams because this is a very business-like approach. You know, where I began this stream talking about the previous regime, where I think the previous regime played politics, played every angle, having fingers in every pie, you know, where are you a master at anything you do, or are you just a jack of all trades, master of none, right? And that's the perception I was left with. And I think with Gorton and Hughes here now, I think these guys are so hyper-focused on fulfilling a mission of getting the Canadiens back to where we want them to be, consistently competitive, and building a culture that is attractive to other teams, because when you come to Montreal, it's business, and the business in Montreal is winning. That, to me, is one of the most, I think, the most positive thing to happen to the Montreal Canadiens in I can't remember. Thanks for being with me on this Saturday morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Shaun Starr Show live on YouTube. Steph Howard, I want to get into the Rantanen trade. I want to give you my grades on the Rantanen trade. Thank you for that. Brad Wright, what a trade. You have to think giving up Natchez. Canes have to extend Mikko Rantanen. That's the thing, too. Rantanen, who's like a $9 million player, is probably going to get $14 million moving forward here. Recliner Sports giving me an update on what's going on in the KHL with Ivan Demidov so far. It's a 0-0 game. After one, Demidov played 6 minutes and 20 seconds. Steve Daniels believes Sidney Crosby will be a Hab next year. From your lips, brother. From your lips. Oh, my God. Listen, I spend a good chunk of my day after publishing the fire sale video with Marco D'Amico. And I understand I'm guilty of this. Like, I'm trying to get views. Yes, I'm trying to get views. I'm trying to build my channel, obviously. Right? I mean, what else are we doing here? We're trying to grow together, aren't we? So I don't necessarily get the call-outs. Ooh, Shaun, titling for views. Yes. Yes, I am. Like, I appreciate the flattering, thinking that I'm the guy that invented the headline, that pulls you in to click or to read. Like, headlines have been around since the printing press started printing out paper, Remember that the all-time greatest headline in the New York Post? Headless body found in topless bar. Like, I can promise you, if I see that headline in 2025, headless body in topless bar, I am clicking on that headline. That's the goal here, right? The goal is to keep an audience, is to get you to click, get you to watch, get you to comment, get you to react. So, yes, I am guilty. Guilty as charged. Yes, I did put up this video with this picture. Could it happen with Sidney Crosby in a Canadiens uniform with a couple of Habs logos beside him? Yes, I did that. But then if you click the video with the question of could it happen, the answer is no. No. I don't see Sidney Crosby coming to Montreal at all, period. End of sentence. It would be a dream. It would be a dream. And in that video, I explain, when Crosby was drafted and he sits down with Gord Miller and he talks about how the Habs were his favorite team, blah, 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 blah. And he's a generational player. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. They might waive the eligibility requirements, the waiting period. Like, Crosby's, Mount Rushmore hockey player Crosby, right? And if the Montreal Canadiens were like the Carolina Hurricanes, like a piece away, right? Like, Carolina's been to the conference final a bunch of times, but they're trying to get over the hump. What have they been swept in back-to-back Eastern Conference final appearances? So they're trying to get over the hump. If the Montreal Canadiens were in the Carolina Hurricanes space, man, I'd jump over anything to get Sidney Crosby, but the timing for Crosby's just not right in my head anyway. I just don't see it making any sense whatsoever. Why would Crosby come here? I don't know if the Canadiens are a Sidney Crosby away from winning the Stanley Cup. I believe Sidney Crosby is still a great player. He's got over 50 points. He would be the leading point getter in Montreal right now. So don't come at me with he's too old, he's over the hill, blah, 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 blah. Sidney Crosby in Montreal for 2 or 3 years would be unbelievable if we're talking again about this culture, but the timing, in my opinion, just doesn't work, So, yeah, I would love to see Sidney Crosby. Let me repeat myself. Lots of texts coming in today. Anthony, good morning. I woke up early just to support Shaun Starr, most relatable guy on the radio. George Balkan, Jack Finnegan, and Ted Teven all rolled in. Oh, my God, dude. Anthony in Greenfield Park, brother. Wow. I don't think my name belongs in the categories of the George Balkans and Jack Finnegans and the Ted Tevens. These are first ballot Hall of Fame radio broadcasters, but I certainly appreciate that. And if I can get sappy and emotional for a second, when I got into radio, obviously I was a big radio guy when I was a kid and everything else. I loved Howard Stern. I loved Shom FM in the morning. Shom was my station, right? Terry DeMonte and Ted Bird and Peppermint Patty. And I loved how funny they were. I loved their chemistry. And I knew early on that I wanted to be in the radio, that career is what I wanted to go out and try to achieve, And I'm very fortunate, very lucky, very blessed that I have been employed in radio steadily since September of 1999. September of 1999 is when I signed my first ever radio contract. I signed it with CJAD 800 when they were owned by Standard Broadcasting. And from September of 1999 all the way to January of 2025, knock on wood, I have a steady career in broadcasting in Montreal, and I have always held it. There's never been a period since 99 to 2025 where I was without a job. So I've been very lucky, very fortunate. A lot of bounces have gone my way. Not to say that I don't earn it. I don't deserve it. I feel both of that I've earned it and that I do deserve it. I've worked my butt off, and I continue to work my butt off. And, that comment struck a chord with me because I know my place, right? Like, I know my place. I'm on local AM radio. I don't think I walk into any room thinking that I'm better than anybody else. I know I have a great job. I know people would love to do what I do, I think. You know what I mean? And I get to talk sports, and I get to have fun, and I get to come on YouTube and talk to a whole bunch of people that can relate to me, and I can relate to them. But that is, for me, it means that I'm doing the right thing. If you're telling me that I'm a relatable person on the radio, then that's exactly what I've been trying to do my entire career. I just want to be just another person that I have the gift of gab. I love to talk. I love to interact with people. I love the Montreal Canadiens and talking about the Canadiens. And if you can relate to me through the radio, then I think I've done my job, and I've done it well. So that comment means a lot to me. So thank you so much for saying that to me. Every now and again, it's like radio's a tough business. Radio's a tough business, as we all know. Maple Leafs have Squadouche Recliner Sports. What's up? That's Lofty Company. As Recliner Sports reacts to Anthony's compliment, thank you for that. Zeph says Markstrom in New Jersey is hurt. Will be Allen played 40 games or so. That's right. And we spoke about that earlier this week after Markstrom got hurt. And right, because the Devils have been not great lately. And when they beat Boston 5-1, that's where Markstrom got run into and left the game. Allen came in and shut the door basically the rest of the way. And the Devils, with that 5-1 win over Boston, got them off of a 4-game losing streak. I believe they had lost 5 of their last 6 and 4 in a row. And that was the key, right? When we go back, that Allen needed to play a certain amount of games for that third pick to turn into a second pick for the Montreal Canadiens, one of the conditions on the transaction when it was made. So good on you for bringing that up. Back to your comments this morning. Recliner, what about Tasso Pasitakis? It was funny. When I remember Tasso was on the radio, and me and my buddies, my two friends, my friend Jimmy he was the guy that had Sega Genesis, and we used to go to his house, and the three of us, we would take turns, right, playing NHL whatever year it was, right? And when two people would be playing against each other, the third person's job was to be the play-by-play man. And so we used to take turns, and whenever it was my turn to be the play-by-play man, we used to record. My friend Jimmy had this big, kind of sound system, and we used to record into the sound system doing play-by-play while my two friends would play NHL on Sega. And I always was, I'm Tasso Pasitakis from Kojak Souvlaki, and that was always my thing. So whenever I see that name, it takes me back to my childhood. More of your comments on this Saturday. Thank you so much. Sometimes I lose my space here. I'm just trying to get everybody's comments in as much as I can here. Do you think the Red Wings have the blueprint for shutting down Hudson? No, I don't. I don't think that. So let's talk about the Canadiens-Red Wings game for a second, okay? Where Montreal came out flat. And that's why I titled the video the way I did. The Montreal Canadiens haven't done this in weeks. And you know what this is? The emphasis on this? The Montreal Canadiens haven't lost back-to-back games since December 12th and 14th. So yeah, it's been a minute since this team has strung together consecutive losses, okay? And the Detroit game was bad. But let's talk about the Red Wings for a second, because as always, there are two teams on the ice. And the Red Wings had been in a funk. Losers of 4 and 5, losers of 3 in a row. And in those 3 losses, the Red Wings in 3 consecutive games had scored a total of 3 goals. And then they're back home to play the Montreal Canadiens. And if you've been watching the Montreal Canadiens, you know that Montreal is aggressive. They're on you fast. They love to roll 4 lines. And they get good goaltending, right? And so we talked about the balance of the Canadiens, how well they've been playing, how sustainable it all looks. And then they went to Detroit, a team with a lot of pride, a team that was angry, and a team that wanted to bring the jam to the Montreal Canadiens. And guess what? Guess what? Montreal just didn't have it Thursday. They just full stop didn't have it, okay? Lane Hutson had a bad game. Sam Montembeault had a bad game, right? The DeBrincat goal to end the first period was terrible. The Larkin goal by the side of the post was terrible. 2 bad goals from Sam Montembeault, who did not play very well. But he had a lot of company. And guess what? If Sam Montembeault played even worse, the Canadiens would have been cracked by the Red Wings. What was the shot? 16-4? And a 2-0 lead after 20 minutes? And Sam Montembeault was all over the place at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit on Thursday. So it was a bad game. The Canadiens had a bad game. They looked tired. They were slow to react. And Detroit showed up with a lot of pride. And they put the boots to the Montreal Canadiens. And the Canadiens got a taste of their own medicine. But guess what? Guess what? And that's why, again, I'll repeat myself. Why did I titled the video the way I did today? The Canadiens have not lost back-to-back games in over 6 weeks. And now come the New Jersey Devils, okay? So here's an opportunity, and I use the word opportunity on purpose, okay? Because, yes, as flat as Montreal looked in Detroit on Thursday, and they deserve to lose that game, what are we going to see from them tonight against the Devils team that has lost 4 of their last 5? For a Devils team that has lost 5 of their last 7. And they haven't been scoring a lot of goals either. Yes, they are coming off a 5-goal outburst on Wednesday against Boston, where they beat the Bruins 5-1. But that's an outlier. That's an outlier. That 5-goal outburst, that's not something you can bank on seeing tonight at the Bell Center. At least I don't think so. I mean, heck, let's look at New Jersey's record since January 1st, just to give us a bigger sample size. Here, look at this. Here's New Jersey, 3-0 January 1st against LA. They lose 3-0. Follow that up with a 3-2 loss, okay? So we're 2 goals for the Devils in 2 games to start the new year. Then they score 3 to beat Seattle. Great. Then they lose with a 2-goal effort to the Rangers. 3 goals and a win over Tampa Bay. 1-goal loss to Florida. 3-goal loss in overtime to Toronto. 1-goal loss to Philly. 1-goal loss to Ottawa. Boom, 5 goals against Boston. So that's all I'm saying. It's an opportunity for the Montreal Canadiens to do what they've been doing for a minute. And that is recover from a bad game where the standard wasn't met. And now the Canadiens have a chance, an opportunity to right the ship and get back to where they are. Because let's look at this, okay? Here's the out-of-town scoreboard today. And here we go, baby. Avalanche and Bruins coming up in a few hours. That's a 1 o'clock game. Buffalo Sabres, who cares? Pittsburgh Penguins, start trading already. They're on the road at the Kraken, okay? New Jersey and Montreal. Boom. Ottawa Senators, 7 o'clock at home against Toronto. Boom. Red Wings at home against Tampa Bay tonight. Boom. BJ's at home against the LA Kings. So there's the Islanders, 7:30 at home to the Carolina Hurricanes. So, yeah, we've got some serious out-of-town scoreboard watching today. So it's an opportunity. If the Montreal Canadiens fancy themselves as these playoff aspiring teams that they want to be very much in the mix, here's your chance. Because when we look at the Montreal Canadiens schedule, it's another gauntlet of a week for the Canadiens. And they got to hold on. My friends, the Montreal Canadiens have to hold on because the Four Nations break is coming up. February 12th comes to Montreal. But when we look at the Montreal Canadiens schedule, here, have a look at this. Tonight against New Jersey, Tuesday, Winnipeg, Thursday, Minnesota, and then kapow, Anaheim, San Jose, and LA, and New Jersey and Tampa Bay to end. until they're back in action on February 22nd. So a nice 2-week break, okay? So this is a mother of a run. And this, to me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. 8 games between now and the Four Nations tournament. This window right here will define whether or not the Montreal Canadiens miss or make the playoffs. I believe it. It's that important. And it starts tonight against New Jersey, against a team that's been struggling, a team that lost their number one goaltender, a team that can't score a lot on the regular, but they've got talent. So let's not take New Jersey light. They are a very good hockey team, okay? But it's an opportunity for Montreal. Who would you go with in goal tonight? Jakub Dobeš or Sam Montembeault? Thank you, everybody, for all your generosity today. Hitting that $ next to the smiley face in the chat window. Dropping your generosity with your tips today. Thank you so much for that. Really helps grow the show, no doubt. Lots of comments coming in today. Rick Springhetti, Steph Howard, thank you. Let's get to your comments. It's really going quite slowly today. If I can see if I could just pop this out for a second and see if we can get this going today. Thank you, everybody, for all your comments today. Oh boy, Zeph, what are you saying to people? Zeph's getting some people riled up in the chat. This market reacts strongly to a bad game. If their next 2 or 3 games are also bad, I would worry. But until then, a bad game is just part of a long season. Well said, Rick. And that's the truth. Ultimately, here is the Montreal Canadiens. It's a long season, and they're not going to be perfect. Okay, so as Rick Springhetti correctly points out, let's stay calm. Let's see how the Canadiens take advantage of an opportunity tonight. Make the sample size larger, then play more until he can't do it. Talking about Jakub Dobeš tonight, Dobeš has been impressive, but the sample is very small. I don't disagree, and that's why I think the Montreal Canadiens have been very patient with Jakub Dobeš. I think they've shown us, and that's why, I just want to follow the pattern. The Canadiens have been very quiet, very patient with a lot of their younger players, and that's why I do believe, ultimately, why Sam Montembeault, I think, gets the start today. I wouldn't do it. It would not be my call if the Canadiens play it safe with Sam Montembeault. I can understand why. But I think Jakub Dobeš, with his attitude, his calmness, I'm willing to, and I say this on purpose, I would roll the dice with Jakub Dobeš against New Jersey, and understanding this is a big game, and the safe call, in my opinion, would be Sam Montembeault. It would be, knowing that he is the number one goaltender in Montreal, that he has bounced back, and that, yes, despite a subpar effort against Detroit, he's still one of the better goaltenders in high danger scoring and slot shot save percentage. He's still one of the better goaltenders. So I think percentage-wise, Sam Montembeault, in the eyes of the coaching staff, might look at him as percentage. He could give the team a better chance at winning against New Jersey tonight. But I'd like to see them go with Jakub Dobeš. That's honestly, that's my perspective on whether or not Sam Montembeault gets a start in goal tonight, or is it the Jakub Dobeš show? Zeph wants to see, he wouldn't mind seeing Jakub Dobeš in net tonight. On the goalie thing, says Curious Browser, I'd be alternating to keep them both fresh. Bugger that whole starting goalie bit. Keep them both fresh and go with the hot hand for the big ones. I don't know about that. I think it's still Sam Montembeault's team, and the fact that he got the 2 games that Dobeš didn't get the Detroit game, I've chosen to read into it's still Sam Montembeault, but why Dobeš makes sense today, the attitude, and then if he doesn't play today, when does he play again? When will Jakub Dobeš play next? Right? I just went through the schedule with you. New Jersey tonight, Winnipeg on Tuesday, Minnesota on Thursday. And then they go to California for 3 games, Anaheim, San Jose, and Los Angeles. So if it's not Dobeš today, when is it? When is it Dobeš time, baby? I don't know. And that, I would go with Dobeš tonight. I watched a lot of Laval games, says Brad. I saw Dobeš several times with Ohio State. This kid is good. I see him jumping Monty in a year. That's possible. It's possible, right? Like, Jacob Fowler. I still think next year it's going to be Sam Montembeault and Jakub Dobeš with Connor Hughes and Jacob Fowler as the tandem for Pascal Vincent and Laval next season. That's how I see it being mapped out personally. Your comments, thank you. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Saturday, everybody. Thank you so much. Lots of people getting a little feisty. Anthony says he likes the positivity of the show in the chat. Hopefully the positivity remains strong when Lane Hutson turns into Shane Gostisbehere. Have a great weekend, everybody. Oh, Anthony in Greenfield Park. Lane Hutson, no doubt. Listen, get it in while you can. Get it in while you can. Because Lane Hutson, my friend, is my rookie of the year. You know that. Curious Browser, the window Shaun is pointing at is also the opportunity to get in and stay ahead. Good morning, everybody. Lane Hutson, 48, has 4 points in 4 career games against Detroit. Way to point that out, Recliner Sports. Let's see a big bounce-back game from Lane Hutson tonight on home ice against New Jersey. And that's the thing, too. I like this point, and I want to bring this back to the point Rick Springhetti had brought up. One loss does not change what the Montreal Canadiens have done. And one loss does not mean panic. One loss does not mean you should be worried. As we laid the groundwork for the New Jersey Devils and what they've done, and the 5-goal performance against Boston, more of an outlier than a harbinger of things to come. So let's get going on the NHL trade that shocked the world yesterday. What's your reaction to this? Are the Carolina Hurricanes, you guys, now the odds-on favorites to win the Stanley Cup this year after they pulled off quite the move yesterday? The NHL got really loud on Friday with the blockbuster trade that we have not seen in forever, right? I mean, obviously we can go back to the Shea Weber, PK Subban days, but the fact that a 50-goal scorer gets traded in season is not something that really ever happens. And so Colorado trades Mikko Rantanen, understanding that Colorado has a structure. Nathan MacKinnon is the top dog in Colorado. And Mikko Rantanen is going to be we'll see what happens if Carolina can get this guy extended or not. I would imagine they would after that deal yesterday, but Mikko Rantanen's probably looking at $14 million or somewhere in that financial stratosphere, right? So it was a 3-team deal involving Carolina, Colorado, and Chicago. Taylor Hall and Rantanen go to Carolina. Jack Drury and Marty Necas go to the Avalanche. So the Avs also receive a 2025 second-round pick and a fourth-round pick in that same year for the Hurricanes. The Blackhawks, though, reacquire their 2025 third-round pick and also retain 50% of Rantanen's salary, which I'm not so sure I totally understand. I thought maybe just trading Taylor Hall by himself would have gotten you a third-round pick, but the business of the National Hockey League can be a funny one. So full stop. This is a grand slam trade for the Carolina Hurricanes. This is not an A grade for Carolina. This is an A++ grade for the Carolina Hurricanes. Remember, they went out and they traded for Gensel last year, and then they lose him in the offseason, and he goes to Tampa Bay. But the Carolina Hurricanes are fascinating because forever and a day, the Hurricanes really were strategic in drafting and developing players. Remember how many stud defensemen the Hurricanes had in the cupboards, and now they're super aggressive because they seize a moment, they seize an opportunity, and they get super aggressive in a trade, knowing that they make a deal on the 24th of January, knowing that the trade deadline in the league isn't until March 7th. So the Carolina Hurricanes are a legitimate championship frontrunner. And now with Mikko Rantanen, the experience of a Taylor Hall, I think it brings Carolina to the front of the table. I think the Carolina Hurricanes today, my friends, are the odds-on favorites to win the Stanley Cup. I mean, Svechnikov, Sebastian Aho, Mikko Rantanen. I mean, my gosh. I mean, the depth, the scoring, the playmaking ability of a potential first line of Aho, Svechnikov, and Rantanen. I mean, that is going to be as dangerous a trio as you're going to see in the National Hockey League. And on the other side, in order to get, you got to give. And Marty Necas goes the other way. And there was some drama, some back and forth about Marty Necas, his dad, how he was being used by the team. And now he goes to Colorado, and suddenly a team that was averaging the fifth most goals in the National Hockey League adds more in Mikko Rantanen, one of the most consistent players in the NHL. And we talk about the Hurricanes. I mean, that power play was what, 17th in the National Hockey League? Where's it going to be at the end of the season with these two studs now right there? So I can't really explain what Chicago's strategy was, retaining salary, getting back their third pick, and retaining 50% of Rantanen's salary is this head scratcher for me. I don't really understand. I'm going to have to read more and hear more from those around the National Hockey League to wrap my noodle around this and see where it goes. But for the Colorado Avalanche, it appeared the writing was very much on the wall that Rantanen was done. And they still have Cale Makar, obviously, and they still have Nathan MacKinnon. And they've chosen that Nathan MacKinnon is the alpha man in that organization. And knowing that Rantanen was a pending UFA in the final season of a 6-year deal, and he was making almost $9.5 million, that you could look at a possibility again of that $13-14 million a year deal. And Nathan MacKinnon is in the first year of a deal that sees him earn just over $12.5 million a year. So the Colorado Avalanche drew a line in the sand, and the line in the sand is Nathan MacKinnon and his salary, and nobody makes more than that. And I can understand it. It's a business. At the end of the day, we can all be loyal and we can all want our favorite players to stay. And I'm sure those in Colorado aren't happy that they lost such a stud in Mikko Rantanen. But yes, you got to separate the feelings sometimes and understand that this really, really, really is a business, and it's a business run by sharks for the most part, right? And so I love this deal. I love this deal for the National Hockey League. I love the fact that we saw a player of the stature of Mikko Rantanen get dealt in season months before the deadline I think is very good for the National Hockey League. I think it's a lot of people talking. So let's get back to the chat this morning and let's talk about whether or not you think today the Carolina Hurricanes are the odds-on favorites to win the Stanley Cup. Rob Legault says the Hurricanes look so strong. They look unbelievably strong. But can we look at Freddie Anderson in Carolina and be like, okay, good, great, like that first line of Aho, Svechnikov, and Rantanen for sure, but it still comes down to goaltending, and I don't know if Freddie Anderson's going to be good enough. Fuck's sakes in the chat. Good morning, proud member of the Shaun Starr Show. Thank you for being here this morning, and a good morning to you. Let's get back to more of your comments today. Sakic, very, very smart. More moves from Colorado. Fuck's sake, saying, will Rantanen be a bigger star now that he's out of Nate and Cale's shadow? I mean, he was already a pretty big star, and, he joined some pretty substantial talent in Carolina. But, Colorado, to me, is one of those teams that, is very much a local team. They're not really a national team. And I'm not so sure that this changes, right? I'm not so sure that this changes. I think Mikko Rantanen is a phenomenal player, and I think he's always going to be a phenomenal player. And it gives him a chance to make a lot of money and win a Stanley Cup. So are the Hurricanes the odds-on favorite in your mind? Violet. Good morning, Violet. I'm both a Canadiens and Colorado fan. I'm surprised by the trade. I think capitalism ruins everything in general, including hockey, but I'm okay with things. So wait a minute. You don't like capitalism, but you like this deal. Violet, I need you to expand on why you like this deal. I mean, you lose Mikko Rantanen. You get Marty Necas back in return. Do you like your team's chances? Are you, like, sometimes we react to a trade by wondering who got the better player. The team that got the better player wins the deal. So Carolina wins this deal. This is a slam dunk grand slam trade for the Carolina Hurricanes. Good on them for getting this deal. I love it. Brad Wright believes the Hurricanes need a better goaltender. And Recliner Sports saying Rottenberg has Demidov benched again. All right. And now he's back on. Thank you, Recliner Sports, giving us a live update of the KHL and what Ivan Demidov is doing. Violet, thank you for responding. I don't necessarily like the deal, but I understand the environment that the NHL works within. Yeah, that's fair. Thank you, Violet, for that. Thank you for being part of the stream today. I really appreciate that. And yeah, that is the business of the National Hockey League. And I do believe big transactions, big moves like this make the league a better place. It gets people talking. It gets people like, "Whoa, you saw the reaction?" That and apparently insiders were also alluding to the fact that it wasn't even the biggest deal on the table in the last 48 hours, the Rantanen deal. So what does this mean now for the Vancouver Canucks and JT Miller and Elias Pettersson? I would have to think that this deal sets the market price, and Vancouver maybe waited too long before moving anybody. And I think JT Miller's value takes a little bit of a hit based on the return for Mikko Rantanen. And now that Rantanen's name is off the board, and I think if Vancouver wants to really get a substantial return, I think they may have to pivot and refocus their attention on Elias Pettersson if they do want to get a haul back. I don't think they're going to get a haul for JT Miller in Vancouver. I think if they want that haul, Pettersson might have to be that guy. Okay, being last in the chat, I'm able to understand that Chicago sent Taylor Hall to the Canes, merely retaining half of. Yes, we mentioned that Mikko Rantanen retain. Oh my God, I'm gonna sneeze. My apologies. Here it comes. Oh, my apologies. Oh my God, I am under the weather today. I am fighting a cold. I woke up this morning. I've been sneezing nonstop, and I apologize, but I'm fighting through it today. Goaltending not the best in Carolina. Violet, I loved your discussion on Nikolai Ehlers yesterday. Thank you for that. Nice to see you in the chat. And I apologize, sniffling and sneezing on the air. I sound congested. Looks like your boy is coming down with a cold, everybody. Looks like your boy is coming down with a cold. Ace's Cafe, good morning, Ace. Nice to see you in the chat this morning. I think we will see that consistency again when Emil Heineman is back. Great point. Man, did the Montreal Canadiens miss a little Emil Heineman? And remember this. Remember last week when I told you, out of curiosity, why didn't the Montreal Canadiens call anybody after Emil Heineman got hit by a car in Utah and he's out 4 weeks, right? And I could tell you he had surgery, and the timeline looks good for Emil Heineman. I can also tell you this other thing. Patrick Laine didn't have the flu. Patrick Laine had migraines. That's why he was out for as long as he was out for. So there's a little something from me to you. And the other little bit there that we could talk about, and I kind of lost my train of thought because I'm fighting this stupid cold, and now I'm all aggravated by this. Let me see. Ehlers, thank you for that. Talking about Nikolai Ehlers, that the market, perhaps in the narrative around the Montreal Canadiens, is starting to change a little bit with some of the reports and speculation that maybe the Canadiens could be attractive to young, unrestricted free agents to hit the market. 97 watching, only 28 likes. Hit the like button, folks. Thank you, Brad. Right? It's all good, brother. It's all good. And yeah, Emil Heineman's game, man, I miss Emil Heineman's game. I think Yoel Armia misses Heineman's game. And that's what we were talking about. Remember when I was telling you about a conversation I had with a former NHLer? We were talking 2 Sundays ago on the phone, and I said, dude, how come the Canadiens didn't call anybody up? And then when they came home, they didn't call anybody up for the Saturday game. And then they call Owen Beck up to play against the Rangers on Sunday night. I'm like, why didn't they? And you know what he told me? He said the top players on the Canadiens love the extra shift. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then this week on TSN 690 with my partner Connor McKenna, we have Mark Denis on every Tuesday and every Thursday at 8:35. And I said, let me ask Mark. Let me ask Mark about this. And I told him, I said, I spoke to a former NHLer, and this is what he told me. And I go, Mark, what do you think of the fact that Cole Caulfield or Slafkovsky or Suzuki or Laine or Newhook or Doc, that they don't mind being a forward down because it means they get an extra shift? And he goes, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Nick Suzuki loves playing over 20 minutes a night. That's his thing. He loves playing over 20 minutes a night. So that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. If Martin St. Louis believes that more Uri Slafkovsky, more Cole Caulfield or whatever is better than 4 minutes of Michael Pezzetta or 6 minutes of Owen Beck, I'm good with that decision. But if what we saw in Detroit carries into tonight, then we have a problem. Because you can't be talking to me about how, the top players want more minutes and more shifts, and you're slow on the puck, you're second to react, and you're losing hockey games. The Montreal Canadiens have not lost back-to-back hockey games in about 6 weeks. December 12th through 14th was the last time they went through that. So you can't be shorthanded while also being tired. Those two things do not work. Scott Struthers, what's up? You're a good guy. Keep kicking ass. Love the show daily. Listen on every morning work break. Thanks. Thank you so much. You can listen to me and Connor McKenna Monday through Friday from 6 to 10 a.m. We love having you guys. Good to see you here. C'est qui dans le but ce soir? Bonjour, bon matin, ma belle Thérèse. Comment ça va, Thérèse? Bon samedi matin. Peux-tu en parler en français un petit peu, là? Je pense qu'on peut parler en français ce matin, là. I apologize for those that don't speak French, but yes, I am fluently bilingual. And d'abord, pour moi c'est Dobesh dans le but ce soir. Parce que je trouve que Dobesh, pour moi, c'est comme une Patrickois. Tu sais, son attitude, comment il se parle, son confiance. Je pense, pour moi, c'est Dobesh. D'abord, si Dobesh joue pas à soir, les Canadiens jouent quand, là? On va regarder ça ensemble. Tiens, on va regarder ça ensemble. Donne-moi 1 seconde, s'il te plaît. D'abord, check ça. Ça, c'est l'horaire pour les Canadiens. Ça commence à soir, à 19h contre New Jersey. Mardi, c'est Winnipeg. Jeudi soir, c'est le Wild de Minnesota avec Marc-André Fleury. D'abord, on voit ici, c'est Dobesh. Le 19 janvier, là, il a amené son record à 5-0, là, quand il a gagné 5-4 à New York. D'abord, le 19 janvier, là, on est quoi, le 25 aujourd'hui? D'abord, c'est 6 jours. S'il ne joue pas ce soir, c'est 9 jours entre matchs. D'abord, on va le lancer sur le patinoire contre Winnipeg mardi soir, mais non. Moi, je pense pas, ça marche pas de même pour moi, là. Pour moi, ça marche Dobesh ce soir, puis après ça, là, c'est Montebo contre Winnipeg, c'est Montebo contre Minnesota. Puis peut-être quand les Canadiens s'en vont à Californie pour jouer à Anaheim, le 2 février, peut-être on va recevoir Jakob Dobesh. How was that? How was that? How was that French? Was that French? Was that French all right? How did I do there? Was that pretty good? So yeah, I basically made the case why I want Dobesh to play today. It's be way too long, between starts. So just to let you know, I can flex in French too. And les deux gardiens sont tellement capables. Merci, Violet. I agree. Got to give Dobesh a chance. And Violet back in the chat. Dobesh, c'est comme un droit, mais aussi un jeune. Mais il est tellement jeune. C'est pour ça que je trouve que les Canadiens sont patients avec Dobesh. Puis moi, j'ai pas de problème pour faire de même. So, yeah, Dobesh is young, inexperienced, and let this go for a little bit, okay? So, here we are. How did we do today on the... how did we do? Merci pour ton français. Ça me fait plaisir, ma belle Thérèse. And so, Habs in Jersey today, I would go with Jakob Dobesh. And, well, thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this stream today. I think I'm going to punch it in. How did we do today on the stream today? Did we do okay? 32 likes. What did we peak at today? Not too bad. So yeah, thank you everybody for being with me on this Saturday morning. Hopefully, I am healthy enough to be back here tomorrow. Somebody's saying, watch out, Tony Shaun, coming for your... I don't know if I could do a full sports talk show in French. Maybe I could. I don't know. But I always, I pride myself on being multilingual. I love being able to communicate. I'm one of those guys, too, like you go on vacation. It happened last time I went on vacation. I was in the elevator. I took a cruise. I was on a cruise holiday. I was in the elevator on the cruise ship. And I'm just standing there, right, minding my own business. I'm not one of those guys that talks to strangers on holiday. But I'm in the elevator, and then a couple walks in, and they stand behind me in the elevator, and I hear them talking en français. Puis c'est pas comme, oh oui, on va s'en avoir un petit pâtisserie. They weren't speaking like French. They were speaking French from Quebec, you know? And I just turned around. I said, oh, c'est beau ce langue-là. And then, boom, we started speaking in French. I love being able to communicate in French. If I could speak 6 languages, I would speak 6 languages. T'es incroyable, Shaun. Merci pour le stream. De rien, ça fait mon plaisir, mon beau petit David. Bon match ce soir. Violet says, I learned more French from watching hockey than anything else. That's amazing. I find French is such a difficult, I find French incredibly hard, very, very complex. I'm still not great with my luz and las all the time. And I don't know how people do it. I don't know how people, like I have a hard, I don't think I could go to like Japan and learn Japanese by watching Japanese TV. So I'm always amazed when people from other countries come to an English-speaking country and they're like, yeah, I learned to speak English because I watch TV all the time. I'm like, what? How easy is the English language compared to everything else? What did you say now, Recliner Sports? Still best friends? What did you say? Did you say something about me? I don't know what you said. Good French, says Bob. Thank you very much. So I think hopefully if Steph wants a take on the Bills game today, I'm going to give that to you tomorrow. I will be back here tomorrow unless I'm really under the weather. Unless I'm really, really under the weather, I will be here tomorrow at 9:30 in the morning. So just get used to it. Saturdays and Sundays, 9:30 a.m., I will be here live to take your comments and react to all the stuff. So set the schedule for tomorrow at 9:30, and I will give you my take on the Canadiens and Devils game today, and we'll get into what's going on in the National Football League on Conference Championship Sunday, the best Sunday of the NFL season. All right? Now do Russian in honor of Ivan Demidov. Niet. Do svidaniya. That's about as good as it gets for me. So that's it. Make sure you join me tomorrow morning at 9:30 right here on this channel, and I'll give you my take again on all things National Football League. You got it, okay? So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all your tips today. You guys, your generosity puts a smile on my face. Thank you so much. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Tell all your friends. We're growing this community together, and we're going to keep it positive. And you could say you were here at the beginning, right here with me, okay? So thank you so much again for being a part of the stream today. Have yourselves a great Saturday. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your friends. And go, Habs, go. We'll be back here tomorrow morning at 9:30.